Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this week-long programs this whole week in regards to the SCIC and Long Beach Gives. My name is Melia Islam Majid. I serve as the Executive Director of the Southwest Interfaith Council. I have with me Carol, our president. Hi, Carol. I feel like I haven't seen you in so long.
I know.
But I'm glad that you're here. Thank you for being here with me. And although you can't see Michelle, we also have Michelle who is doing all the behind the scenes and making sure that our tech and stuff is going to function properly for us. But like I said, this is our program for Tuesday, where we are just showing every day a little glimpse of the SCIC. In terms of what we do, what we stand for as an organization, and what your donations go towards supporting. And this is specifically for this Long Beach Gives Week, which, as you probably know by now, is this week of giving that actually ends this Thursday, where particularly based out of Long Beach, all these great nonprofits are soliciting funds to support their work, and SCIC is one of them. We have a $10,000 matching fund, which we are just about $4,258 short right now of unlocking. So we are so grateful for any and all donations. No amount is too small, and certainly no amount is too big. And you can actually just go on our website, scinterfaith.org, and there's a link there that will actually direct you to where you can make your donation. So we are so appreciative of that. Today, Carol, we're going to do a little celebration. We focus on service and education. Yes. Today, we thought what we would do is just kind of showcase some of the more artistic expressions of faith and expressions of culture and unity that we've had the honor of providing a platform for others to share on. So we have a few musical pieces, I think 5 altogether, and we'll talk a little bit about each one of them. But these are performances that were at our MLK service, right? And then our annual assembly and our gala. So am I right, Carol? I think so, right?
I think that's correct.
Okay, so Carol, do you want to say anything else before we start off with our first performance that we had?
Well, listen really carefully on the first performance, because the things that are said are really quite profound, and it's music is playing while he's speaking, so you really have to tune in and listen. But it is worth the effort, and just be listening for something that really touches you, please.
Yeah, thank you, Carol. All right, Michelle, we're ready to go.
Namaste, everyone. Greetings from Mumbai. It's the monsoon season in India. And my name is Paul Livingstone. I'm the artistic director of the Soul Force Project, a nonprofit organization in Los Angeles dedicated to celebrating the relevance of nonviolence through music and the arts. I'm very happy to share some meditative raga music with you all today. And music for me is prayer, a directing of the mind to purify the heart. Like meditation, we simply lift up our presence, and that, I believe, is universal for everyone. I do this through the discipline of music, and today I bring you a raga meditation based on the beautiful rainy season raga known as Desh, Rag Desh. Enjoy. we can envision a cleansing in the world. For our planet is truly an extension of who we are. You and I are intimately connected to one another, to the plants, the animals, the rivers, the oceans, the mountains, and clouds. As we dwell in this reality of interbeing, we must ask the hard questions and seek to understand why we're in the position we are today. Why, when we know so much, do we do so little to change? Overconsumption has led us into catastrophic climate change. And with our historic habits of greed and violence, we're affecting millions of our brothers and sisters today. I hope that through the work we all do, we may finally realize that now is the time to change. That despite our apparent differences, we are one human race. That in 2022, despite what we see around us or hear in the news, courage means we must take a stand for hope and a radical paradigm shift globally. Half measures will not do. The only way forward is to wage peace as bold as love. We must truly think about what we may let go of to live out a future for all people. Some of us need to give up some privileges that we've taken for granted, to stop taking more than we need, to live simply so that others may simply live. Only then may we preserve this miracle of a planet, our only home, with acts of love, to honor our great Mother Earth, the Father of creation, and not steal away this precious gift of abundant life that we may pass down to our children. And if we do not, they may only wonder why we had so little love.
Carol, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself. What did you think? Oh, you're still muted, my friend.
I exited off the screen. I had to find the little thing to click on and find where I could unmute myself. So you didn't hear all my fabulous comments. I could hear Paul really well that time. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. One of the first things he said was music is prayer. And I know one of the scriptures from my faith tradition, which is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, is the song of the heart is a prayer unto God. And so I thought that was interesting. But just so many great comments that he made. What ones did you like, Amelia?
Yeah, it's interesting. I have that's the first thing I wrote as well. Music is prayer, and it reminded me we don't have the time today to kind of replay all of our music performances, in the even just in the past 2 years. But a lot of times there's misconceptions about even that, like or people for example, I'm Muslim, and within the Muslim faith, you know, a lot of people will have the belief that, oh, but there's no music in their prayer, or, you know, there's no music in their practice of their faith. But what was really interesting, and again, you know, we aren't able to show it today, but just this last year, we had this great group from Washington, D.C., the Zainab Ensemble, which is this group of, I think it was 6 young ladies, and they sang Rumi's poetry, and the Rumi's poetry was prayer to God. And so, and they sang that, and it was just so beautiful. And, you know, it just illustrates again that these things that bind us together, that all these faith traditions that, you know, they're components that link us to one another. And certainly music is one of them, you know, and, you know, because he goes on to say how we're like intimately connected to one another. And now is the time for change. And these things are so, they resonate so much, you know, no matter when. This is like my 3rd or 4th time listening to this, and I always actually write this quote down, and I wrote it to where I can see it all the time, and it says, we must live simply so others may simply live. I think that's such a profound thing if you really think about that, right?
I think so too. And just prior to saying that, and I only got part of it, although I picked up on it the very first time I heard him as well, is that those of us who have been able to consume so much, we've had this privilege of always having everything we need and more than what we need to learn to give up some of those privileges so that, and live more simply so others can simply live. And
yeah.
I guess when we don't always see that. Now watching the news at night and watching the climate change, that I'm not an expert on climate change, but part of it I know is just from the industrial countries, you know, the waste products that come from industrial living seems to be causing some of these climate changes. And we may not be experiencing the results of those, but totally innocent people who are not living the privileges we have are suffering for the things that we're doing. And I thought that was profound as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love how he, you know, he, for him, you know, especially, you know, it was interesting. Paul Livingstone, he is one of the students of Ravi Shankar. And for those of you who know kind of South Asian music, that's a huge deal, you know, so there's a lot of tradition that's passed down to him. And I love how he also in his music, he just doesn't talk about human beings, but when he talks about you know, each other, he's including the whole world, the planet that we live in, like what you're saying, the climate, you know, the things that we do that have a negative effect. And I, you know, and to me, I think that's just beautiful. And I love that we can have music that's not just beautiful to hear. And by the way, he recorded this while he was in India, as he was saying, well, you know, it was the monsoon season at that time. So so we're so grateful that his generosity, for his generosity. But I love how, you know, he shows that it's all interconnected, not just human to human, but human to the world, you know, that we live in. And I think it's powerful, and how this music, you know, not that it's just beautiful, but it has all this important messages. And I think these messages are really those things that we try to uplift in our faith council. So I love that connection. Should we go on to the next one, Carol?
Sure.
Okay, let's do it.
We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace someday.
already unmuted, so I can start talking and be heard.
Yeah, please.
First of all, I love virtual choirs. That's
Yeah.
one of the things about COVID and being on Zoom that I have really just enjoyed. The different groups that found a way to sing together, even though they were not next to each other.
Yeah, and in such a beautiful way. I mean, some music pieces it speaks for itself, and that, obviously such a powerful piece right there, and the way that they were able to present it over Zoom, it's just like you said, it's amazing. And this was actually one of our performances that we had for our Dr. Martin Luther King Interfaith Intercultural Celebration. I think it was in fact the first year that of the pandemic that we had this. So it was such a treat, because one of the things that's really central to this MLK celebration that we do every year is music. And so we were really pondering, how is this going to happen where, because we would have gospel choir, or we have musicians that would participate. But of course, at that time, that was not possible. So I was really amazed and inspired, like you said, Carol, how churches and synagogues and Jewish communities, they all made it work, right? I mean, it's just beautiful, and I love that piece, and the words, we shall overcome and live in peace someday. I mean, I think that's the core of what we strive as human beings, and certainly is something central to what SCIC strives to do as well. So I loved it.
A couple of comments. I don't know if you noticed, but Diana,
Yeah.
our board member, who was not then our board member, is in that choir.
Hey,
And
Diana.
it was just so fun to see her there. And one of the first photos they showed was several men carrying signs that say "I am a man." And as I saw that, I thought, that is really what we are trying to do in South Coast Interfaith Council, is to be able to look at people who are not the same as us, in terms of maybe our religion, our ethnicity, or where we grew up or how we grew up, and see them as people. Sometimes when someone is different than we are, we see them as the other instead of as one of us. And in the Interfaith Council, when you interact with people from all different groups, that, at least for me personally, this has been the ideal place to get to know people from all these different groups, and be able to get to know them better, and truly begin seeing even more so people as people, and not as another or them, but seeing them as us. And as we do that, we do what they said in the song, we walk hand in hand.
Yeah.
And I just love that message.
Absolutely. And, and a lot of times, I think people think, oh, interfaith work, it's like kumbaya, but it's not always easy. It's not, right? Because at the end of the day, we're not saying that we are asking people to come as their authentic self. And as, my authentic self can and probably is very different from, Carol's authentic self, or, the rest of my board. I have a 24-member board of directors, but we do that consciously because we want to say, present your authentic self and let us honor you as who you are, and then let us find points of commonality, and then build on that. So a lot of times it's in these, when we get together, and they are, we cover so many topics and issues, and if there's something that is not easy, we keep at it, right? And I think that connection that happens at that time, I think that builds sometimes the most meaningful relationships, because at the end of the day, we still make a commitment to one another that we will walk hand in hand, though, right? We will still honor each other as human beings. And I think that's we're a grassroots organization, but my goodness, if you can just imagine if every organization, every person espoused that, espoused that type of a mentality, like what kind of a world would we have, right? It would be, I mean, it would be beautiful, and it is, and we're, that's what we're striving to do, and one day at a time, one day at a time.
One day at a time, and as we do it individually in our own lives, with the people we encounter, we will have peace today.
Yeah.
The world may not have peace, but we can have peace in our own lives and hearts as we do those things that cause peace. And there's this one commercial that I have always loved. It was an insurance commercial, and it would show a lady going, with her little stroller, and her baby drops something on the ground, and somebody picks it up and hands it to her, and somebody else sees them, and then they see somebody that needs something, and they do something nice, and it just snowballs. And so it is. Yep. As we do the best we can, then others see us doing the best we can, and they try to do a little better, and then someone sees them, and that's how we're going to have peace someday, is just all doing the best we can and letting the ripples go out throughout the world.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Okay, Michelle, let's have our third performance, please.
Hold your head up high. Always reach for that sliver of light. Be grateful for each day, 'cause being together makes us better. All being together makes us better. Oh, oh, we're stronger this way. Together we grow stronger every day. Fill your cup with love. Always lead from the center of your heart. Lift each other up, 'cause being together makes us better. All being together makes us better. Oh, oh, we're stronger this way. Oh, oh, together we grow stronger every day. Reach out now, take someone's hand. Appreciate everything we have, 'cause being together makes us better. Being together makes us better. Oh, oh, we're stronger this way. Oh, oh, together we grow stronger. Together we grow stronger every day.
Thank you, Abby. That is beautiful. I just love your voice anyway. And just such a beautiful message. Hi, Amelia.
It is. Hi, Carol. And you know what's really cool? We commissioned her to write that piece for us. So she actually wrote that song specifically for the SCIC. And I mean, being together makes us better. Lead with your heart, lift each other up. I mean, these are like I have a toddler, and I find myself saying these things to her, and I think oftentimes we don't realize they're sayings that we often hear, but they're so significant. If we just practice it, and Abby's voice and her skill is amazing. And I love that she wrote this song for us, and it just, like the other ones, it just really encapsulates what we do as a council, which is leading from the heart, which is lifting each other up, because I think in this world we sure have a lot of people, who are trying to tear each other down, and we don't need any more of that, and so it really is a privilege and an honor to be a part of an organization that not only believes in the opposite but practices the opposite in everything that we do. We try our best, at least.
We aren't perfect. That is very true.
That is absolutely, we learn every day. We learn. Keeps us humble.
She said, Abby, one of the lines was, we shall now take someone's hand and appreciate everything that we have. Sometimes we think, oh yeah, I should do that. Oh yeah, I'll get around to that. But every day we can actually do something to buoy someone else up. And also just to appreciate what we have. I don't know about you guys, but every now and then I get, I don't know what, but just where you think, oh geez, this is going bad or this is going bad. But when you stop to appreciate everything that you are blessed with, we are so fortunate. And I hadn't noticed this before. I've seen this many times and I love it. But today when I was looking at it, behind Abby on the wall are different instruments hanging there. And, each of those instruments looks different. It's shaped different. It's a different color a little bit. And they sound different. Yeah. But they each have a valuable use. And I bet if you played them all together, they could really harmonize and sound wonderful too. And that's how we are as people. We're different shapes, a little bit different colors. What sound comes out of us is a little bit different, but we can work together and harmonize our lives to make all of us feel valued, and to be able to recognize the importance of each individual.
Yeah, I think gratitude definitely is something, you're right, that's such a big thing. And again, that's another thing that ties so many faiths and cultures together, is this power of gratitude and to express it. It just, as I'm listening to these songs, I'm being reminded, Abby wrote this song for our first gala that we had during the pandemic, and thereafter we had two more. So, we've had 4 galas so far, and one of them was just actual, in live in person, and the subsequent 3 have been online because of this pandemic. But what a gift that is as well, and just to be appreciative of the support that allowed us to continue to do that, right? Because do you remember, Carol, 2020, when suddenly everything shut down, and we're like, and it was at the time of our annual assembly, and we had to cancel that, right? And we're like, what are we going to do? I mean, we're an organization that's really operates out of the generosity of the people that we serve by putting these programs together, and and suddenly we couldn't leave the house, let alone have any programs and stuff. But then, it's amazing how the whole world is able to shift, and even more so, how we continue to support each other, because I'll be honest, that year, I didn't know how or if, we would survive, just because with such precarious times. But the generosity of the people we serve, our supporters, we're just so grateful, from the bottom of our hearts, and just indebted to your kindness, because it really does make a difference, and it allowed us to continue, still being here in 3rd year in pandemic, and fingers crossed next year, hopefully in person, to do these programs. But absolutely, you're right. Just being appreciative of everyone is so important. Okay, that was our 3rd piece, right? We have two more, I think. All right, Michelle, our 4th one, please.
That was beautiful. I always love listening to that choir. It's just very soothing and inspirational.
And together we can make a change, and there's not a greater truth to that. And what's amazing is, we always talk about uplifting the youth and what they do. And this song was actually, I believe, if I remember correctly, written by that young lady, I don't
Layla
remember.
at the beginning.
Yes, exactly. Which is, I mean, that's amazing. It's such a beautiful song. And this is obviously, it's from the Jewish youth choir, so children's choir. So we were so grateful that they allowed us this opportunity to share this song as part of, I think it was was it our Unity?
I
It was
think it
either
was I don't know. I would have said our second gala, but I'm not sure.
yeah, it was gala or the annual assembly, one of those events. But yeah, it was beautiful. And like she said, together we can make a change, and that's what we're trying to do right here as well. All right, let's listen to then, I guess
Can I just make one quick comment on this one too?
course. Please.
I thought what was interesting on this one was this choir was reaching out to those who cannot hear, and had a signer on there. And the great thing about lots of people is we all see different things, and we all see different needs. And so they saw this need to reach out to people who could see them but not hear them. And it was fun just to watch the young person who was signing and seeing the emotion that she showed. I especially liked when she was doing Strong, and they had a couple of singers who did that. And we are strong. Sometimes we don't think of ourselves as strong, but we can be very strong, and especially together we can stand strong. And so no one has to feel like they're by themselves. Okay, I'm ready for the next one.
No, that was great. Thank you, Carol. All right, so our last piece for today.
Together the hearts unite and bind. Together the hearts join in the chord, all the souls join in the chord, all the souls. Oh Lord, make these faces radiant through the light of thy oneness. Unite and bind together the hearts. Unite and bind together. Join in the chord, all the souls. Join in the chord, all the souls. Oh Lord, make these faces radiant through the light of thy oneness. Unite and bind together. Together, the heart. His face is radiant through the light of thy oneness. Unite and bind together the hearts. Unite and bind together. Join the chord of the souls. Join the chord of the souls. Oh Lord, make His faces radiant through the light of thy oneness.
Oh, now it's your turn to unmute, Milia.
Sorry, I was just got too excited. I wanted to talk. I absolutely love that song. I love everything about that song.
You know, I have listened to it many times, and I have more listened to just the harmonies. And this time I really listened to the words, and there's actually some words that I had not picked up on before.
There you go. Share with us.
That I got this time. And I think what they said is join in the chord all the souls. And if you're not, you probably all know enough about music to know that there in a chord, there are several different notes that go together to have an overall sound. And I just thought that was beautiful. Join in the chord all the souls.
Yeah, I mean, and this young man, he's actually, he himself is a Baha'i, a member of the Baha'i faith. And, and again, that's also, we want to show through music as well, that there's all these beautiful diversity of music that's inspired by people's journeys and their faiths and their cultures. And his name is actually Ali Yusufi. And I remember when we first had contacted him about this song, and he was so generous. And he said, please, if there's any way that this song can be of benefit to your programming, your organization, I give you, you have my, permission to utilize it. And so I remember I did some background on him, and it's so interesting. And I want to share this because he's just such a kind and generous human being. And certainly these precepts, kindness and generosity, I think they're certainly prevalent in all of our faith traditions, but, most especially within the Baha'i faith, for those who are familiar with the faith, it's a very open, a faith that really cherishes each human being, right? And so he wrote a little bit about himself. It said, my name is Ali Yusufi. I'm a musician with a background in music therapy. For over 10 years, my biggest passion has been to set uplifting and spiritually enriching quotes, mainly from the Baha'i writings, to music and share them in various ways, always with the hope of inspiring the listener. Some of the quotes in my music address topics such as inherent nobility of all human beings, the oneness of mankind, and the journey of perfecting our spiritual qualities throughout our life. And, and I invite you to do a Google search on him, and he has such other beautiful songs as well. Um, but I mean, I think he does exactly that, right? I mean, just even seeing the diversity of people that he had in that video, and if you see, there was a young man who was standing in front of, I think it was it looked more like maybe a Coptic church, and so he purposely does that to show that we can all unite as one in this world as human beings. And you're right, we've actually utilized this song as kind of the concluding song to a few of our programs because it just summarizes this greatly, right? I mean, it's beautiful.
It is, and it's lovely. And I started writing down some of the diversity that I saw in his groups. I saw there were people that appeared to be in different countries. At least some of those backgrounds didn't look like anything I've seen in the US. Some of them were indoors, some of them were outdoors. The ones who were indoors, they had all different backgrounds. They had different choices in art. Hair was, different people had different kinds of hairstyles. There were lots of different ages from young to, my age. They had different instruments that were playing that were all together. And I loved at the end when they showed everybody smiling. They just were emanating joy, I thought.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was I loved it. So wow, that was 5 songs from kind of a few of our programs, and we hope, again, what we try to show through today and through these programs is just a little glimpse of what the SCIC does. So we have concerts and dinners, and music is an important component of showing the richness and the beautiful diversity that also unites us together. And so we make a conscious effort to really go out and find amazing individuals who are inspired by their faith, their life, their culture, to create these beautiful harmonies. And just a recap today, we had Paul Livingstone, the music is prayer, and he performed to us from India, and he's a student of Ravi Shankar and within the Hindu faith tradition, and the richness that's even just South Asia brings to music. And then after that, we had some of the things that to live simply so others may simply live. What a beautiful message. And of course, the Pacific Unitarian Church Choir and their powerful expression of the song "We Shall Live in, We Shall Overcome." About the quest for all of us to live in peace, and that's certainly something that unites us together. And then we had Abby, who wrote a song for us, which is wonderful, Together. And being together makes us better, leading from the heart, lifting each other up. And then from the Jewish Children's Youth Choir, their song was also Together, wasn't it? The name of the song? Yeah, I think
sounds good.
Yeah, I think it was.
They put it up on the wall. You're right.
Yeah, they put it up on the wall, and the last thing that they said was, "Together we can change the world." And how what a truth. There's no great, that's such a central truth to so many of things that so many of us believe in, and certainly the SCIC. And then of course, Ali's song "Unite," that we unite together as one human family, and what a beautiful thing that can be, and what a powerful thing that can be. So really, Carol, I think we did a pretty good job kind of choosing the songs that uplifted the things that SCIC believes in and works towards. What do you think?
I think we did too. And if you enjoyed this music and would like to hear more, go to our YouTube channel, South Coast Interfaith Council. And we have our annual assemblies, our MLK program, and also our galas that we have special music on every one of them. And just listen to those and hope you enjoy it. And
Absolutely.
hope you find the message that we send and what we're trying to accomplish worthy of your support. And if you are in a position to do so, we would love to have you go to Long Beach Gives, search South Coast Interfaith Council. We have several of our board members and friends who are fundraising for us on there, and pick a picture, read what they say, and choose one of them and make a donation. We would really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And you can you can even just go to our website, scinterfaith.org. We have a link to the Long Beach Gives page as well. But please know that no amount is too small, and certainly no amount is too large. We're so appreciative of all the support that we receive, and so grateful for your continued generosity and belief in really what we do as a council and what we stand for, which is really this power of unity within our diversity, something that we value so dearly. Michelle, although we can't see you, I want to thank you for doing the behind the scenes and playing all the music. And Carol, we have 2 other dates together on Zoom tomorrow.
Can't wait.
Yes, I know. One of them will be where we kind of unite with all the past presidents of the SCIC and just have a conversation about just what SCIC is and their roles and things like that. So until then, Carol, any other parting words from me before we say good afternoon?
No, just go out and be strong together and reach out your hand and do something nice for somebody.
That's right. Unite together. Thank you, friends, for joining us and for watching this maybe at a later time. We invite you to please share this with others. And like we said, we invite you to please support the Southwest Interfaith Council, particularly during this Long Beach Gives week, and make a contribution so that we can continue this invaluable work. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, everyone. And we will see you again very soon. Take care, everyone. Bye, Carol. Bye, Michelle.